Jay Baba friends, today we're at the start of a Darwin Shaw weekend. Darwin's birthday, July 20th, is tomorrow, and we're going to be showing videos of talks by him and his wife Jeannie today and tomorrow. So, without further ado, I will start. This one is called "Nothing Fades," and he's talking about the impression that Baba left on his life, on his heart. It doesn't fade. He said somebody remarked that those kinds of things fade away, and he said, no, no, not this one. So, okay, here we go.
Well, I know that Jeanne shares my feelings when I tell you that we're just overwhelmed with joy to be with so many dear ones here, to exchange loving greetings with you, and to see the beauty of your hearts, and to feel that Baba's presence is also with you, probably just as much, maybe more so than with us. And it is always a joy for us to share with anyone who would like to share in Baba's love. So this is a special, very special occasion for us. After all of these years of not seeing Baba, you would think that perhaps some of the memories, very precious memories we have of being with Baba would begin to fade, but they don't fade. We're still enjoying them, and especially when several of us get together, like our family, we begin to reminisce, and we discover little things that we had never discovered before, little meanings, and some very profound meanings that Baba had been trying to get across to us in our many contacts with him. And also, we have talked with a few people yesterday and today, and we see that Baba is very active with you all here, just as much so as with us. So it isn't that any one of you is an outsider looking in. You're all on the inside, and Baba has you in his net and drawing you closer to him. I haven't actually made a title for the talk of this evening, but I thought of drawing closer to Baba, and someone, well, David, I think, suggested we were talking about Baba's grace. They seemed good titles, but they'll probably get worked in. But I wanted to start by saying that when you come to Christ, I'm speaking of the Christ of the present, that when you come in his presence, there is a deep, deep inner humility that kind of sweeps in over you and calms the heart and the mind, and one begins to become awake. One begins to come into the light of reality and to experience the indescribable wonder and beauty of his presence, and that which cannot be separated from his presence, his divine love. I recall one of the first meetings with Baba was so precious to us. We were just beginning to discover how Baba knew our thoughts and our feelings and could respond to them. At that time, I wasn't aware completely of everything that Baba was doing. We're so accustomed to thinking that a person does one thing at a time, and at most two things, but that Baba, there's just no measuring how many things he's doing very efficiently, not only with those who are in his physical presence, but throughout the entire world. It's just, the more we dwell on it and try to fathom it, although he one time told me that he's unfathomable, but it's something that we love to do anyway. try to see more deeply into his being. Well, I was going to tell you about one of these first meetings. It was in a hotel in New York City, and we had been with Baba up quite a bit the previous 2 days, but during those 2 days I had not been able to get really close to Baba. And there were two couples of us, and one couple sat on Baba's left on a divan, a rather large sofa, and Jeanne sat next to Baba, and I still felt frustrated. And I didn't know at the time that Baba flashed it to me what to do. I thought it was my own idea. Well, why not sit on the floor in front of Baba, get on your knees and sit back on your heels? And I thought, gee, that's a good idea. And I'm sure now, as I think back, that Baba flashed this to me because of other events. He would respond to it without any acknowledgement of it, respond to so many things. And so that was a most precious place to be, with Baba sitting there with one leg over like that, and to look up into the indescribable beauty of his infinitely loving eyes, and to be in that continuously radiating presence, the presence of Christ. We try to imagine what it could be like. Some of you here also have shared that experience of being with him in the physical body and found it equally as wonderful as we did. And for me, sitting down there like that, I thought, this is such a marvelous experience. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Baba gave us some little thing as a token, as a memento for this occasion? And instantly Baba snapped his fingers and had Chanji go to a vase and bring back a rose, and Baba handed each one of us a petal from this rose and said, keep this as a memento of this occasion, quoting my thoughts. And we kept those petals for a long time, but somehow, as time has gone on, they've gone back to Mother Earth, I guess. But sitting there so close to the foot, the beautiful foot of the Christ, I just became overwhelmed with a wish to stoop over and kiss his foot. And I was reminded of the woman who came to Jesus with the vial of precious ointment and poured it over his feet and then wiped his feet with her hair. So I wanted to kiss his foot, but everybody was looking. And I thought, oh, I can't do this, everybody is looking. And then what happened was a strange thing. Everybody started looking in a different direction. Even Baba. How quickly he responded. And so I hope you will feel that you share with me a little bit of this great blessing of just stooping over and kissing his foot. Yeah. The Christ, our precious foot. And I'm sure that he's with each one of you more than you know, because most of us are not sensitive enough to actually see him when he's near. We feel him more than we actually see him. But as we've given more and more of our hearts to him, he enters more into our lives and works with us in many ways, including the most trivial things. And he's interested in drawing us into his being. Well, that's sort of a strange thing to say, isn't it? To be drawn into the being. But it is the being of the infinite, the immeasurable, the timeless. And when we would come to Baba, we would come I think he worked with us, well, sometimes I know it was for years, and now as I think back, it must have been lifetimes. I don't think anyone came to Baba without him having worked with them, preparing them for this blessed encounter. But even so, even with all this preparation, and we too would consciously do our best to clean up our act and be presentable as much as we could to him inwardly as well as outwardly. But even so, when we would come into his presence, a decrystallization would begin to take place right away. Even if one doesn't come to the living presence, when one comes into the presence of God, wherever one is, if you really come into his presence, you must undergo a decrystallization. Things must go. And I know that among the many ways and means that he uses to draw people to him is desperation. If people won't come to him because he's the best person and thing to come to, he has a way of driving them into the wall where there's no other place to turn. And they say, oh gosh, why didn't I think of turning to him before, And as a last resort, we turn where we should have turned in the beginning. And somehow we sense, I suppose, that he wants to, in his own ways, disillusion us. He says that this whole creation is illusion. And we don't like to be disillusioned, but he comes to free us from illusion. And he helps us to see that it is illusion, and thereby the contrast between it and him, it's not very difficult to let go of illusion. But I think for the heavyweight disillusionments, he prepares us so that they are not hard to bear. He's always there, and we can turn to him more deeply than ever. But coming to him in the physical was not only what happened. He would make it possible for us to come to him in the spirit as well. We would find ourselves in total consciousness at our deeper levels as well, and in the spirit. One time, in response to a letter I had written to him, complaining about my financial inability to come to him, he said, not to worry, my dear Darwin, I'm always with you wherever you are, wherever I am. And he said, those who are united in love are always in spirit, and they know no separation. So I think he takes us into the level of the spirit and helps us to discover that we're not a physical body. We're something that is beautiful at the inner level, and that because of him, our inner nature is beautiful, and he is able to unveil that nature and make us more conscious of it. It is an act of his grace. His divine love includes his grace, which is constantly flowing. One time in India, in 1954, he was reminiscing about his boyhood, and he said that when I was a young boy, someone loaned me a book about the Buddha, and in that there was an item about the Lord of Mercy who is to come. And he said, when I read that, I said to myself, that's me, I am that. He knew, even as a small boy, that he was the Lord of Mercy who was to come. But it wasn't yet time for him to be unveiled and to be functioning as that Lord of Mercy. We can't really imagine how deep his love for us is, how infinitely compassionate he is, how infinitely patient he is, how infinitely sweet he is. He's been waiting for us to visit him and come a little closer for countless centuries. And this is one of the most opportune times for us really to draw closer to him, to come into his being more deeply. We move at the level of the spirit. We're used to movement on the freeways and, in all sorts of ways out in the physical world, but we also move in the spirit. And it is possible for us to draw closer to him. Sometimes after one of us might have written a loving letter to him, for example, he would reply by saying, "Your letter brought you closer," because we were giving more of ourselves to him in that way. First along, we had very much difficulty writing to Baba and didn't know how to write him. Jeanne often tells that we didn't even know how to address him, But we found that in our dilemma, he would even respond to that. And first thing you know, he would be with us, and it would be more or less Baba himself writing the letter to him, through us, giving us the words to say, because we couldn't, we had so much difficulty expressing our feelings, and we really didn't know how to do that. While on that subject, I might say that all through the years, we could have been writing to Baba every day, but we didn't. We wrote to him on rare occasions and responded to his cables and things like that, but we never troubled him with our ordinary problems of life. We felt that he knew all of our problems and things we were going through, and he would want us to use our best judgment and think things out well and be intuitive about it and try to make the best choices as we went along, and then not to worry. And that's the way it went along with us. And being with him was already, I can't even imagine any superlatives that would be adequate, but there would be times around Baba when even beyond what he ordinarily revealed, he would sometimes allow more veils to fall away and give you a deeper glimpse into his being, so deep and so beautiful that it would be difficult for you to withstand the impact of such divine love. In fact, I feel that many people came away from those experiences with deep love shock. To be exposed to such great beauty, which is very penetrating, and I don't know what words to use to describe the beauty of divine love. And you see, it doesn't remain around Baba. Nothing remained as it was. We began to undergo immediate changes, and our perception became different, deeper, and clearer. Heart center began to open up if it wasn't before. Love began to flow. We began to be able to love Baba in the most ideal way. And burdens, tons of burdens would, fall away. And all these things would happen without Baba apparently doing anything at all. But as our daughter Leatrice was saying this afternoon, sometimes we would be sitting with Baba, and he would be just sitting there, and apparently nothing would be happening. But don't believe that. Something great was happening. Really, the welling forth of his divine love and beauty would be going on. And Leatrice actually nailed it on the head when she said, on those occasions, Baba was allowing us to share in his silence. And it's a vibrant, alive, beautiful silence, the silence of the Infinite One. Also, we like to tell outstanding stories about Baba and how he did miraculous things and all that, but actually every single thing around Baba was miraculous. Every single thing, just walking along, sitting near him, being in a crowd when he was there, whether anything seemingly important was happening or not, it was happening. Something tremendously important was happening all the time. I showed Leatrice a picture I took of Baba in India in 1954, and he was standing with a bunch of children, and he had one hand over here, apparently giving his full attention to one child, but over and back and around another child, the other hand was on a little girl over here, who had a blissful expression on her face. You see, this happened all the time around Baba. We couldn't be up to what was going on. We knew what we were experiencing, but we didn't know what the others were experiencing. But as we compared notes through the years, we discovered that the same things were happening to everyone, and Baba gauged his work with each one so that it would come to them at their level. He would come to each one at his or her level and relate to them in the most intimate way. And I feel that he continues to do this, and no matter how complicated our personalities are, whatever our background, whatever our complexes or problems, he is able to come to us at our level as our most intimate and loving friend and companion. He said, if you love me with all your heart, at your level, I will take you to my level. Isn't that wonderful? I wanted to read, not much just now, just a little item or two. See if I can find this one. I have copious notes, which means they're all mixed up.
I've always wondered what that word is.
Yeah, that's what it means. You know, in the discourses and other places, of course, there are so many wonderful gems that I'm sure each one of you have come across from time to time and pondered over. Here's one that I came across recently, and I said, how many times have I read that before and not realized what it meant? Baba said, the end sought in the spiritual field is, and it was in capital letters, completeness. Completeness, which transcends the limitations of time. And this is in the discourse on sadhana, in case you want to look it up. Completeness. Now, Baba has said that we are already complete, but we don't know that, we don't experience that. So we think this is what I need, that is what I need. And so we've developed a wanting complex, which we translate into a needing complex. Oh, it isn't that I want, I need it. And so the wanting machine grinds away, and we keep reaching, but still there's an emptiness there. We don't experience the completeness that we don't even know that it is completeness. Baba has told us that when we reach the human form in our evolution, our consciousness was then complete. But as a means to that end, we developed a bad habit. We became addicts of the drug of Maya. And it's pretty hard to kick that habit. And we need Baba's help for that. One time in India, Baba gave me a little glimpse of what this was like. And I know many of you have heard this story before, but I see deeper into the experience than I ever did before, and I hope somehow to convey some of that to you. I was one of those very few, can you imagine Baba inviting any Western man who loved him or was a devotee or who would want to come and be his guest, to come to India as his guest for what turned out to be about 3 weeks. This was in 1954. And you know how many responded, how many went? 10,000? 18. Just 18 Western men. That's hardly believable. Anyway, I found out that I was one of those. I was one of those lucky ones. And it puzzled me, and especially being there with him, being with the Christ day after day, is really a totally overwhelming experience. And one day I was on Meribad Hill just by myself thinking about it and wondering, how does it happen? How could it happen that I'm here? I'm sure there must be countless thousands of people throughout the world who far more than I deserve to be here, but here I am. So I also realized that this was also an incomparable opportunity to shed everything, to give everything to him. He was the one. Here was the place. You know, we drive along country roads sometimes and we see big signs on big warehouses, self-storage. Where do you get rid of the self? I was surprised. I didn't know you could store them in these places. Anyway,
New age, Darwin.
yeah, right. So I thought, well, this isn't. How many centuries have I waited for this? You know, this is the time and this is the place. So I was trying to surrender everything that I could. There was no outer exchange, and you know, how stupid of me. I didn't realize that Baba was conscious of my every thought and every feeling, and that precipitated me into this. And so I began working, you know, like a person in a basket with a balloon, trying to throw out all the ballast, you know, so the balloon would go up. And so I was working at a deeper level than I'd ever been able to work before, and was able to unload a great deal. But I finally came to a place where there was a blockage, and I couldn't do anything with that. As struggle as I might, I couldn't do anything with it. And I thought, well, I'm thankful to have been able to have done this much, and I was very grateful for that. And at that time, it didn't occur to me that Baba even knew about it, or that he would intervene or anything. Can you imagine? So, but one day, I still had that lump in there, that blockage. Baba, he would never have you sit down and go through a ceremony with you. If he wanted to work with you, he didn't have to have any acknowledgement or any outer sign of it, you know. Well, he was standing with some other people 10 or 15 feet away, and I just happened to glance over his way just as I never know how to describe this, a great wave of light, of beauty, of power, of divine love, of fire came from Baba directly to me and swept through. And I couldn't do anything about it. It was grace. It was that flash from the eternal. And it swept that blockage away. But not only that, but everything else that seemed to be, you know, it was a very convincing experience of his ability to sweep out the organ, is it stable, of humanity, sweep out the rubbish, you know. And but I just stood there transfixed after that, and the others were moving around, and Baba was going to go down to Lower Meherabad and light the Duni that day. But I still stood there transfixed with wonder at what had happened. And I experienced total bliss, total love, total freedom, no sense of any want of any kind. Any desire or any want would be just simply out of the question. I felt totally complete. I felt complete. This is a glimpse of our own completeness. And in trying to put a name on it, I suppose my mind drifted to the 23rd Psalm, and I thought to myself, that's it. He restoreth my soul. And I felt that I had been restored to wholeness. And I know that he can do this and will do this with each one of you, with each one of us. This is our destiny, to be restored to wholeness. This is why it is so important for us to stop the wanting machine. As a result of that experience, I wrote, said he, in fact, as a result of this and similar experiences, I have come to feel that there is no such thing as spiritual advancement. Advancement is relevant only to those who still want to become something other than what they already are. As a result of man's subjective sense of incompleteness, he searches in the objective world for that which seems to be missing. He wants to discover and experience his own completeness, but not understanding this, he wants objective things which he unconsciously feels will fill the void which he experiences. Thus, wanting becomes a way of life for him. But it is also one of the main factors which bind him to a continuous but futile search to find and get the missing something. It is only when man at long last becomes resigned to the will of God that he can cease wanting. And when, again at long last, he recognizes that sooner or later he will have to relinquish all objectives, all gains, all losses, and even the sense of qualified self, with its consciousness of being good and or bad, or anything at all, and becomes reconciled, happily reconciled, to being nothing, but happily nothing in the beloved's love, that he is enabled to become aware of his own completeness. But he is not able to do this by himself. For this he needs divine love and grace. But this is given freely to those who will accept it. You know, in the universal message, Baba says, he gives us quite a message, and then even partway through this message he points out that it is simply a matter of relinquishing the separate self. And he says that this is found to be almost impossible to do. But it is possible through my grace. And he said, I have come to release that grace. Could it be that we're not accepting enough of Baba's love grace? Are we holding back? Do we think he really is not omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent? Do we think that the little obstacles that we have are too much for him? Are we hoodwinked by Maya's creation of time into thinking that it's got to be 10,000 years from now? Don't you think he could dispel these veils like nothing? He could and can, if you and I will let him. They can all be dispelled. We Baba gave a discourse which is in the book The Everything and the Nothing, and it is titled Truth is of God, Law is of Illusion. We are creatures of law, and we say you can't do that now because of this and because of that, and everything is cause and effect. We even take Baba's measurement by our own conception, or rather misconception, of all of these things. And we even think he couldn't do these things now because it's against the law. But he is above all laws, all limitations, everything. In the discourse on the supervening orders in the universe, is that what it is? Something like that. That's in the beams. He lists the various stratas of laws and how they interpenetrate and work, but the final law, thing that goes above all laws, is divine grace. Divine grace. And even great saints who are conscious of the planes, and Baba doesn't want us to bother about the planes at all, have to come to him in all humility, become nothing, and accept his divine love, grace. So we must come to that, and it isn't a demeaning thing at all. It is a very beautiful thing to come to the point of inner humility where you can take hold of the hand of truth, you can accept the cleansing of his love, grace, and through his hand step into his kingdom, into his inner presence, and be there with him. On the anniversary of his birthday, and it was on this anniversary of my birthday, I give you my blessings for the death day of your false selves, and for the birthday in me of your one true self. See? And I was inspired to write the following. Although I am unable to measure the full significance of Baba's birthday message blessing, I feel that it is as though his love and compassion for us could no longer be contained, and in his infinite mercy, spontaneously found expression, as he dipped deeply into his immeasurable treasure chest, to quite simply and most lovingly offer us the crown jewels of the kingdom of God. It is as though we, who had been struggling vainly to find some way to get into the impregnable palace of the king, were suddenly confronted by the king himself, who smilingly opens wide the door and says, "Please come in. I want you to come in and share my treasure. It is my gift to you." And who would mind being crushed by the overwhelming beauty of his love? And who would care what became of the self as one, thus enraptured, accepted the priceless, the timeless, the immeasurably loving hospitality of the king?
When I met Baba, we had no pictures of Baba except a few from England, and so I really didn't have any idea how Baba would look. And when we did get to New York to see him, we had an appointment, and Princess Renae Machiavelli saw us there in the hotel. I won't tell the beginning of that, but the appointments were canceled for that day because Baba came late on his ship. And she said Baba would be in the next taxi. She had just come from there, and so we kept looking to see if Baba, if there's anybody that looked like Baba. And finally, she comes along with a man that, to me, it was a shock almost because I expected a God-man to look like God, big and radiant and beautiful. He was beautiful, but it was all hidden under a big hat with his hair up under there and a great big overcoat down to his ankles, and he made him look smaller, and all I could see is a mustache, a big mustache, and I said, that isn't God. How could he look, how could that be God? And I sort of, withdrew myself, and Baba just put his hand out, and I'm looking, I was quite young, of course, then, and my 20s, I guess, and then Narina and Baba went, of course, Baba shook hands with Darwin, and Darwin, of course, saw something else. You can tell it yourself. I won't tell it. And then Baba and Narina went towards the elevator. But I was so curious to really see more of him. We weren't supposed to see him that day. You see, our appointment was canceled too, but we started off in Schenectady anyway, thinking that maybe we'd catch a glimpse of him, and we did, but we didn't expect to see him that day, but it worked out differently, of course. Baba knew our heart's longing, and so I felt, I don't know if any of you had a feeling that somebody's looking at you from behind and you're conscious of it, you got to turn around. So I wanted to sneak a look to see where Baba was, and I gradually turned my head and I turned around, and Baba's doing the same thing, and he goes like this. And I quickly turned back. I said, oh, he caught me. No, but I had to do it again. And I turned around, and Baba's turning too, and that happened 3 times. I still had to look. Well, the 4th time he was already on the elevator. So it was, and then we were waiting, and there was a little lady there with us who brought a cake for Baba, and her appointment was also canceled. But she said, now I see baronesses and princesses going up there. I'm just as good as they are. I'm going to sit here, and Baba knows everything. He's going to see us. You wait. And then besides, you have no place to go. I'll put you up for the night. You have to wait for me. So we were stuck. We were shy, and we didn't want to, have them think that we were pushing ourselves in. And after 2 hours there, and she was chatting away with us, telling about her stuff. And so Elizabeth was sent downstairs. Baba told her, he went like this, and he said, bring those 3 up. And we were the only 3 there at that, when she came down from the elevator. So we just, we were so pleased and so excited. Oh, really, we're going to see Baba. Well, it was a different story when we went upstairs, altogether different story. Baba knew how I was feeling, and he made me see him quite differently. And of course, when we were asked to come in, we waited outside of the big room, and ladies first, so I walked in across the doorway, and I was stunned. I saw Baba out there, and he looked like he was up in the air, white gown, long hair, so beautiful, and I didn't see any furniture, I didn't see anybody in the room. I don't know how I got over there to him, and, Baba embraced me so hard, and I felt like I found my real father, meaning that I knew the love of a husband, father, and mother, and all those loves, but I never felt this kind of love. And he was then I said, he is the godfather, so to speak, I thought, to me. And so he set me down right here by him and Darwin on that side. And this lady took over. She ran too, so she started giving them the cake, and she was giving all those endearments of my master, all my love, this and that. And I wanted to do that. And I was sitting there, and I began to feel repressed, and my sobs from the vibrations being right next to that great, light and dynamo that Baba was. Of course.
But I always noticed too, that he never wanted us to pick up a candy or a stone or anything that he had thrown to us and we had not managed to catch it. He would say, no. We would have to return the candy. We'd have to catch it. I don't know what there was about that. And I know he threw a stone to me in India one time. You may have seen this in that 54 movie. You may have seen Baba sitting there and pick up a stone and toss it toward the camera. Or he's tossing it to me. The story behind that was that a woman from our group in Schenectady, who has since passed away, said to me when I was going to go to India in 1954, if there's anything at all that I would like to have you do for me, is to bring back a stone that Baba touched. So one day in India, Baba took us up Seclusion Hill. And at that time, I think Seclusion Hill was about 20 feet taller. People taking loads of stones home now. Anyway, there were still some nice white quartz stones. So I picked one up, put it in my pocket. And the next day I could be with Bob. I did happen to be with Bob all alone. And I was talking with him, and I told him about Mrs. Foster's request for a stone that he had touched. And I fished out the stone. He said, he smiled, okay. So I handed him the stone. He held it, and he gave it back to me. And I put it in a 35 millimeter film container so that it would be henceforth untouched by human hands. So I brought it back to her, and it was highly charged. She carried it with her the rest of her life. And she gave it to him again, to Baba, to recharge when she saw him in New York. Yeah, in 1956. Yeah. And meantime, in India, I tried not to entertain any thoughts of such. I'd like to have a stone like that, or I tried to keep any thoughts like that out. And I did my best to keep them out of my mind. But 2 days later, we were at this darshan program at the Crucial Quarters, where Adi's office used to be and where the trust is in now. And several thousand people came for Baba's darshan that afternoon. And right in the midst of that, Baba picked up a stone and held it a couple seconds. And to my surprise, he tossed it to me. I reached for it and I missed it. Oh. I thought that was the end of it. But the infinitely patient one, after all, picked up another stone. And this time he... So that's where that stone went. I still have that stone.
Ooh. Balm for the soul, isn't it? Just what food for the heart. Isn't that just wonderful?
Totally. Wow.
Oh, and that there are so many of these videos on. It's so easy to find them. So yeah, you just type. I just typed in Darwin Shaw Meher Baba and got several. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ralph had a really funny story that I want him to tell again. We're recording now, and this is if anybody has sharing about Darwin, this is the time. Um, uh, so I don't know how many of you. I really only met him. I didn't know him very well, which is why I showed a video. So Ralph, are you there? Would you tell that story again about Germany and your friend and all that? Ralph, are you there? Oh, there
I
you
am, but only just about 10%. I've got an appointment. I've got to get there before noon.
Okay.
So if someone, perhaps anyone else have some
Oh, well, you go first. You go first. If you got,
Once I if I get in the truck and moving and we're still going, I'll try to share it. Then that would be able to do it, I think. Yeah.
better
But
than now.
I can't talk. I just can't
Okay.
chew
All right.
gum and walk at the same time.
Okay. 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 We'll come back to you. Okay.
uh,
Okay. Mikal, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so this is interesting what happened today. I was checking what is happening on Saturdays because Saturdays and Sundays after RT, there's always something special for sharing with other people on the weekends when other people are free. And so I was looking and I saw that it was Darwin, and I said, well, I don't know him that well. I don't have that kind of connection. So it might be interesting, but I will watch the video when it's on the records. And I'm sitting and eating lunch at that time when I'm checking. And when I'm checking, I usually read Lord Maher and Bauji's Ghazal. So I start with Bauji's Ghazal and then I read Lord Maher consecutively. So, so when I'm reading, it's about Darwin Shaw. And it's about his meeting with Baba in 1954 in 3 Incredible Weeks. And Baba is having a special interviews with each one of them by themselves. And this is the special interview that Darwin Shaw is having with Baba. So that was, like Baba is saying, and also Darwin, please come and please be and please share. So, so like this, in 1991 was the only time that I came to Myrtle Beach because every time that I could spend any of the little money that I usually had, I would want to come to Baba's Samadhi because I was so attached to that place, is the place of my heart, just being on the Samadhi Hill. But this time in 1991, I felt called to come to Myrtle Beach. And I came to Myrtle Beach, and Kitty Davy was still in the body when I came. And it was December, I think 2nd or 3rd, I'm not sure. And when I came, I said, if is it possible, because Kitty Davy was already 100 and she was sick and she was very, very sick in bed. And so I said, if it's possible, I would like to see her because I did feel a connection with her and I felt that she called me to come. And that's why I came at that time. So that night I went to sleep and at 5 o'clock in the morning, I woke up by something coming whoosh through the room very strongly. And I said, it woke me up and I said, what, in Myrtle Beach there are ghosts? It felt like a ghost going through so strongly, so energetically. And I couldn't go back to sleep, which I'm very good at going back to sleep. And I couldn't go back to sleep. I went out of the room, and as I went out of the cabin, someone came towards me and said, Kitty Davy just passed away. So it was Kitty Davy. She passed through, and she passed through the room. So at that time, I stayed for a week. That was my ticket for staying there and scheduled. And at that week, there were all the ceremonies for Kitty Davy. So at that instance and that kind of what was happening there, also Darwin Shaw and his wife came. So I met them 3 times. One was that I was sitting in the library watching Baba videos because that was my only chance to see Baba alive because I didn't have a video at home. I didn't have any videos, and And I took some videos, went into the showing room in the library and was watching them. So at that time, Darwin Shaw and his wife came into the library, but I didn't know that because I was in that little room. And I was watching Baba, and I really enjoyed seeing him walking and sitting and getting up and doing all the things that he was doing. And I was entranced. And then I felt a pull to go out, and I understood that they were there and they were expecting to see me, but they left the library. So I ran all the way to the original kitchen, and I saw Darwin talking there to someone. And so I didn't want to disturb. I stood apart, and I don't remember if I actually came up to him after he stopped talking or not. That was the first time. So the second time was when there was a program for Kitty in the program room in Myrtle Beach. And so I came. Darwin was sitting on the first row, and I brought some drawings that I drew of Mera and Baba, and I made little cards out of them. So I wanted to give him one of these cards. Sorry to say, he didn't want to take it. So that was the second time, but it was all silent. I mean, I was wanting to give him, and he sort of refused to receive, but that was all silent. And then the third time was in the church, the ceremony of Kitty Devi in the church. And I was sitting on the roars, and I don't know where Darwin was sitting with his wife. I was not thinking about him. But when it was all over, this ceremony, I got up and I felt Darwin. I felt Darwin again. So I felt this inner connection 3 times with him, and this inner unspoken connection with him 3 times. And 3 times I felt that I was not, I did not pass the test. that that I did not fulfill his expectations. So today, I was saying, I don't really, some mandali you have connection with, some mandali you don't have connection, and that's it. You're not supposed to have connection with everyone. And so today I was in tears. Why was I in tears? Because I keep saying to everyone, who never will meet Mera, will never meet Mani, will never meet any of this mandali, And of course, Baba, Baba we all meet, even though we haven't met him in the body. You can meet all of them because they're alive, and they are open to meeting. They are open to wanting to have a connection. So we can all meet them, even though we don't see them, even though they're not in the body. And here, Darwin is saying the same to me. Please come to me. Please come to this meeting. I want to see you. I want you to be here.
Oh.
And Baba too. So it brought me to tears, because it's like he's saying, I'm sorry, I might have hurt your feelings, but I really want to see you today. And that touched me so deeply. So I want to read what brought me to him today. Darwin, thank you for calling me. I'm honored. I love what you showed here. Your talk is just amazing. You are a shiny person. I never thought that anyone who had some kind of judgment over me of the mandali were not because of that. In my eyes, they weren't less great in my eyes, or less shiny in my eyes, or less beautiful in my eyes, because I am with faults, So I never thought that because they did not accept me fully or see me in the way that I wish they would, that they were wrong, But I always felt that that was how it should have been, and that they are beautiful anyway, So here is what brought me to be in this talk today, Darwin. I'm so glad you called me. I'm so glad that you showed this compassion to me. I know that you are alive, all of you, with Baba, and I send you love and appreciation. So just let me see if I can read this. So, no, this one. Oh, wait 1 minute. Not this one. Okay. So it's from page, Lord Meher, page 3569. Okay. So Darwin is coming into the interview with Baba. So it's an interview, just them alone. Baba's simple declaration had a profound effect upon Darwin. At that moment, Baba somehow pulled back more of the veil and revealed himself. Darwin describes, falling into Baba's arms, Darwin felt a great wave of love and experienced bliss. He continued, "It was beyond my wildest dreams. One cannot describe the sweetness, the tender beauty of his love that was radiant within. In a letter, when we were living in Myrtle Beach, Baba had called me his chosen disciple. I never fully believed it. Now, when Baba called me one of his dearest one, it just broke me up. I looked at him through tears and asked, 'How can you say that?' Baba became sober and said, 'I do not humor you.' Darwin had brought a white scarf for Baba. He had put the small package on the table and now picked it up, feeling it to be so inadequate. Humbly, he handed it to Baba, who quickly responded, 'You yourself are the greatest gift you could have brought. You are God's gift to me.'" So wait, it goes on.
Nicole, we can't see your face now. You clicked a button. You didn't.
Yeah, no, my son is calling, so something.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Prior to coming to India, Darwin had thought that when they arrived, Baba would give them profound spiritual discourses, which he did. But it did not take long for him to realize, in his words, something much more important was happening to us on a much deeper level that had nothing to do with these things Baba was explaining to us at this surface level. One could not remain static. Things changed. Our sense of dimensions of who we are and what we are. There was a dissolving process. We were in a realm which was new and wonderful, where we'd never been before, and it was somehow in the realm of Baba's being. This went on day after day.
Wow.
So this is what I read. I could not keep away from being here and giving honor to Darwin's invitation for me to come today, and to Baba's prodding that I come, and to know that they are alive and we can contact them anytime, and any wrong that was done can always be corrected even after they passed away. Thank you,
Beautiful.
David.
Beautiful, Nicole. I have to be the teacher. That word is realm, REALM, and it means like Baba's kingdom, or
Yeah, realm. Okay, realm. Okay. But
I
it's, I don't always know how to read that,
I
because
know.
I'm reading it with the ABCs that are in there, and thank you. So thank you very much.
Beautiful, Nicole. What a beautiful share. My gosh. Three times.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
three times, and yeah, and it means, it means that what my feeling is that all Baba's mandali are totally there, not dissolved into Baba, totally there in their own way of being, in their own individuality, and that's why we can contact them, and that's why they come in an individual way with their own spirit and their own nature to us and touch us, and that's how everyone can touch them. And so thank you, Jay Baba.
Hey, Baba, thank you so much. My gosh, we have hands. Ron,
Hi, everybody. Jay Baba. I was listening to Jeanne tell her memory of meeting Baba, and it really came through. Sometimes Baba just comes through. You don't expect it, but all of a sudden, you're finding some tremendous significance in what's being said by somebody. And what struck me was that when she first got that glimpse of Baba, she thought to herself, the superficial, it was a superficial sort of thing, which was like, this is God, like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right, and so she had that sort of negative sense at first, but then when she went in and actually saw Baba, and he let her see him in a different light, so to speak. Uh, she was quite impressed, and then when she was embraced by Baba, she said, "This is my memory of what she said, which was that she had experienced the love of a father and the love of a husband, and maybe she said some other dear ones that had uh, expressed love to her for her." But she said that Bob, just from that single embrace, she knew that Baba loved her more than any of those people could. And to me, I mean, what is more telling about that Baba is really the one of divine love? Uh, but the thing is, many people have had that who met Baba, had that experience, including the ones that come to mind are Erich, when he was 9 years old, I think, and met Baba for the first time. And Baba was, comforting him because he had fallen off this tonga and hurt I think his hand, and Baba was attending to him and whatever it was. His mother was paying no attention to him, and yet his mother was the most loving person, and he knew that, but he said he thought to himself, Baba loves me even more. It seemed like, at that point. And then the same thing with Adi. Uh, when Baba went and saw Adi, when Adi was sick one time, and he thought, wow, Baba is so loving. And so this is something that Baba can do because he's love itself. And it's just, it is so telling. But of course, to have the experience now, I don't know that I can say that I had that experience. Maybe I did. I don't know. But I had some kind of experience to uh, uh, draw me to Baba and have me want to get closer and closer to him in whatever I do in this life. So it must have been something, but those particular experiences are very special. So I just wanted to point that out and have us think about that a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Ron. Rosalie.
I my experience with Darwin was in Berkeley. I think it had to be 1971. I think he was visiting there, and I was in a little wasn't, I would call it underground. It was lower than level place called Maristan, a little meeting place. And right next door, it was funny, I had this big giant red fist. I think it was the SDS or whatever, this right next door. It was kind of funny. But I could feel Barbara is the only, it brought tears to my eyes just to hear Darwin's voice. And I also wanted to say this, since Jeanne's name came up. Jeanne, I heard this from Laurent Weisberger, one late night talk. he started talking about his experience of going to a meeting at the Shaws. And during the meeting, Jeanne would serve cookies and some kind of juice. And so he went in the kitchen to get some juice or cookie. And she pulled him aside. He's brand new to Baba, brand new. He didn't know a thing. And she starts talking about how upset she was that Norina Machabelli was saying that Baba was speaking to her. She was so furious about it that she's telling Miss Laurent, and he doesn't know, what's going on. She said, I drove down to tell her to stop doing it. So she drove down to Norina's apartment, and Norina opens the door and she lets her have it. Blah, how dare you say it, Baba's speaking to you, whatever. I'm not quoting directly, but she let her have it. And Norina, when Jeanne ran out of steam, unloaded this very strong feeling, Norina opened her mouth to say something, and all Jeanne smelled was roses. So she turned around and went back to Schenectady. So I think one of the things actually, for me, Darwin was always, I didn't want to go to a discourse meeting unless Darwin was there. Then it was the wine flowed. But otherwise, it was too heady for me. It was intellectual. And I'd always end up confused instead of feeling Baba or getting some kind of help. But indubitably, when Darwin gave the discourse meeting, it was the wine was out and flowing, So I'm grateful for his book, Effort and Grace. And even that one part where it says how important it is to have contact with the avatar in the body is more powerful than impersonal God, and it's an important thing to tune into that right now, because Baba, he's not physically present, but as he is physically present right now. So you don't need a priest. You don't need an in-between person. I even saw it on a tea bag one time. It says, deal directly with God. You don't need in between. And it's the time to do that, because things pop up, authorities, whatever. But, Baba is the awakener. So, well, anyway, for me, I look to that mystical language that he handed out, and I thank God for it. Anyway, Jay Baba, thanks for Darwin. What a soul. Yeah. When I used to live in North Myrtle Beach, right by the airport, I remember what Darwin said when he was a cowboy. He was a cowboy for a while, and he says, outer space, like he was in Montana or where you see a lot of outer space, but I saw it at the airport, and that helped me. I thought, the spaciousness of even living by the airport for me. I remember Darwin, he clued me in. And I have to say, I saw Darwin greet Esfandiar Vasali, who is that beautiful love in his being, from the Prem Ashram. And it was glorious. I mean, it was just like hearing the angels sing. It was in Laurel Oak. I happened to be there. And, well, nothing's an accident, and they loved each other. As a matter of fact, Esfandiar wanted to move here originally or something. Well, Darwin had moved here. It never happened. He went back to Iran and whatever his destiny. But boy, the two of them together, they both followed that truly the path of love. Yeah, it was all about Baba. I remember one funny meeting. It was funny because Esfandiar was on the stage and he decided he had said enough about Baba. He just wanted you to love Baba. So he just sat there. And, it started clearing out the meeting house. I mean, it was quite beautiful, though. I mean, he was just sitting there loving Baba. Yeah. Anyway, Jai Baba.
Thanks, Rosalie. Yeah. Judy.
Jai Baba, everyone. And what a wonderful film we just saw a bit ago of Darwin. I had the good fortune of meeting Darwin back, I think in 84 or 85. He was the guest speaker at the Baba Lovers up in Canada, in British Columbia, invited him to a wonderful an incredible Sahavas on Pender Island, off Vancouver. And Darwin, every time I ever was with him, and I had many opportunities over the years, he radiated Meher Baba. He absolutely radiated him. Baba flowed out of in every word and every gesture in a unique way. The one other person that I experienced radiating Baba in a very similar way was his daughter Leatrice. Each of them individually, beautifully allowed Baba to flow through them to whoever it was that was fortunate to be there and receive what to me felt like I was with Baba. It was profoundly yet simply beautiful. Every word, every gesture, it was as if neither Darwin nor Leatrice, they were just these, Baba was using them to reach each of us. And so being in his presence was, for me, just about as close as being with Meher Baba. And I can't say it more clearly than that. It was loving and profound and simple and natural. Darwin he just carried so much of Baba within him that it just was constantly overflowing out to whoever was fortunate to be with him. And it's in later years, during the 90s and the 2000s, I had opportunities a number of different times in Myrtle Beach to be with him. And Jeff Wolverton and I would take him out to lunch when, each time I was able to be there. And it would, at his favorite cafeteria, and it would just be the three of us, and which was those were, again, it was, I'm thinking of Jeff with having the cup of coffee here in Seattle back in when Baba dropped, right after Baba dropped his body. And that was sort of what our lunches were like with Darwin, of getting to be, just sitting down and having lunch with Baba. And there was always such a sweetness. Sweetness is not something that I often speak of, except with both Darwin and Leatrice. They had such a sweet presence of Baba. And I did not experience that with Jeanne, and or with Renae, their Leatrice's sister, and I didn't have the opportunity to meet their son, but but yes, such a sweetness. I just love the side of Baba that they emanated, and they didn't try, it was effortless. It just, Baba came through them, and it was always beautiful and heartful to be in either of their presence. So, Jai Mir Baba.
Thank you, Judy. Lucky you got such opportunities. Mikal?
Yes.
Mikal?
Yeah, I just wanted to add this video that you brought is especially precious, because I saw some videos with Darwin, but this one was amazing because that did come through everything that he said, and the opportunity to open up to Baba and his grace and everything, and that we are already full. So if we only get off this Maya need. He came through completely, totally. And it reminded me what Rosalie said. I mean, it reminded me before that his expression here in this video, the love that was coming through him in this video, that was so effective today, not only for those who were sitting there, but for us who were listening to it. That it reminded me of another video of Esfandia also. And he was melting in Baba's love. He was smiling. This was one of Meher Sepa's little videos with captions in Irani language. And he was just smiling, and you could see that he was just so mesmerized with Baba, and he was totally with him. And the same thing happened to Darwin here, when he would stop for a minute just to let the impact of his word touch himself, and also the audience that was listening to him. He also was just melting away in Baba. So they were so much alike. It reminded me of Farshid telling the story where he sat in Myrtle Beach, translating for Esfandia, and one side was Esfandia and the other side was Darwin Shaw. He was sitting between them, Farshid, and then he walked with them to the door, and they were both smiling and putting out this Baba out of them, just spreading the magic. Baba was spreading the magic through them, and he just couldn't hold his tears. And they asked him, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Well, I want to be with Baba." And there he is with two pillars of Baba's light right next to him, So this was so strong in this video. So thank you for Betty for choosing this one, because I've seen some others and this one was more effective. And the other thing that I liked so much was you see Darwin, and you know what he was saying, that the first time that he sat with Baba, he wanted to sit at his feet and kiss his feet. And he got down on the floor and he was sitting there. Then everyone was looking away so he could kiss Baba's feet. But in this video, he was sitting at Baba's feet. There was this picture behind him of Baba, and his feet were right next to where Darwin's head was. So it was so befitting and so nice, this symbolism, that Darwin is at Baba's feet. So I'm sitting here, and Bauchi is smiling very much. He's shining, because he's my mentor to Baba, and he was the one who, so I want to just include Bauchi in all of this. Yeah. And he's smiling and he's so happy also. So thank you, Baba, for these gifts. Thank you for shedding this love and letting all these channels of love touch our hearts, and your complete, constant company in our life that directly is also shining your light and your love on us and your grace. Thank you very much, Shiva.
Tomorrow it continues. This is the birthday weekend, and tomorrow is another wonderful old video. Like it looks like an old TV show. It's not exactly, but anyway. And then he narrated the movie Mayor Baba's Call, which is about the 3 incredible weeks, and it's all his narration. So there's more to come.
Yeah, more treasures.
Ralph, are you there? Ralph? I hope so. It was a great story that he had. Oh, Ralph?
He's at a
You have
meeting.
to have Darwin's voice on that Mayor Baba's Call.
Yeah, you're right, Rosalie. I chose that.
Good thinking. And he also has Kitty's voice talking about how to love God. I mean,
yeah, you recommended it, and I totally trust your instincts.
oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Because Bill LePage did one too of that time. Yeah, but Darwin's voice, wow.
Well, I'm not here seeing Ralph. Ralph, I hope you're there. And Ron, you weren't raising a hand, you just unmuted.
No, he just left.
Actually, I do want to offer something.
Okay.
Okay. But this is an anecdote I've told on Baba Zoom maybe more than once, but because it has to do with Darwin, I thought it would be appropriate to do it now. What it is I was on the center, and one morning I was just walking around and heading toward where Darwin and Jeanne were. I can't remember how we kind of just bumped into them. It was me, and there was another woman, Sarah Wentworth was her name. She's passed on now, but she was there as well, and we were just greeting them, for morning greeting, and they were on their way to the beach. So they said, "Do you want to come down to the beach with us? We're driving down." So we both thought that might be a good idea, and we got in the car and we drove there. So when we got to the beach, Darwin was ready to go in. None of the others of us were going to be going in, but Darwin took a dip in the ocean, and when he came out, maybe Jeanne had the towel or something and handed it over to Darwin. But now Sarah was fawning over Darwin. And so in order to express that, she started to help him dry himself off. And, she was like wanting to assist. And so one of the things was Darwin was kind of moving his hair. I mean, we saw a good close up of Darwin's comb over hairstyle, and so he was shifting the hair back into where the direction it needed to go, rather than wherever it ended up because of the water. And so Sarah decided to help out, and so she was moving the various strips of hair here and there, and Darwin said to her, he says, "Oh, is number 5 out of place?" Anyhow, so
He had good humor.
He had a very good sense of humor, and it was perfect. I enjoyed it.
I have to go. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Darwin. Thank you, Baba. Jai Baba to all of you.
Yeah, Bob.
Thanks for your stories. Ralph, are you at a moment where you can share your story?
Perhaps. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah?
We have pretty weak signal in the area where I am, so let me know if I drop off the cliff because I can't
Okay.
see the
Okay.
photograph. So what was it? We told a story about.
Go back to the beginning. You were over in Germany and you.
Oh no, I mean, well, what was the beginning?
Well, that
I
you were.
was in the army and stationed in Germany, and I was in the medical corps, and my unit would send the medic to a hospital in the town. This was in Germany. In Germany, a town called Würzburg, Germany. Large. It was I don't know what it was, but the army, the Germans gave it. The army, and maybe they purchased the building, and it was a U.S. Army hospital. And it was located right across the street from a pretty large Catholic seminary. Seminary for both free and non. Novices where they became went through the process there. And
your sound is starting to cut out.
yeah.
And I'm wondering if I tell what I remember and you jump in and correct me can I do that?
Give it a shot.
Okay. You became friends with whoever it was, the director of the seminary, or you would like go over there and kind of hang out, and you at one point requested the permission to kind of have a little meeting to play. You put Baba's poster up or his picture, and you played you played a Darwin tape. You played an audio, is the right audio? Yeah, it was back then. Tape of Darwin talking about Baba. And you said you had about 8 to 10 people show up, including this man, Paul,
Early.
okay, and Hurley, right. And he was a U.S. guy. I guess they were all U.S. Was it all U.S. people or what?
No, there were multinational. Of those who were not with the church, they were mostly. It was a priest there that they had given the not task, but he created this and did it with the blessing of his superiors. And it was a room in the seminary was dedicated to accommodating anyone at all who in order to be there, and feel the spirit of Christ. And they even had a place sleeping quarters. It was nothing fancy, Sleeping quarters. The beds were separated by simple white Muslim curtains, that were hung on a frame. You could slide them up back and forth, and created walls and give you privacy while there. And so it was in that room I put a lot would ask was if I were there, like,
Ralph, you're breaking up. You're breaking.
okay, so, yeah. Take
You
it up,
met,
Eddie.
well, you met in that group. One person who listened to Darwin's tape was Paul Hurley, a Westerner.
Yeah.
And uh, now, how you in conversation with him, he wanted to know what you told him. Somehow it came up. You told him that your next stop soon was going to be leaving the army and going on the army's dime because the army would pay for travel for a year. You were going to go to Maribad. And he was real
Yeah.
interested in that. He wanted to know all the details, and you told him what he had to do, visa, passport, all that, and he did it. And
Yeah.
wasn't it about a week after you showed up, he showed up? Isn't that right?
Yes, he got out of, he also had finished his tour of time of duty in the army. He got out a week or two.
Yeah.
And
So wow, that's something. Did you ever hear any more from him after you guys were there in Maribad together? Is he still around or? Frozen.
I lost track of Paul, but I've heard that he's deceased, but I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
certain.
right.
I know who he was married to, a Baba lover.
He was very
Maureen. They were divorced, but I think he is a Baba lover. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came to Baba.
She was. Yeah.
Well,
Maureen Hurley.
great story. Yeah, I wanted to tell one little. I had no. This is strictly a down to earth. It was a funny thing. We were at.
Paul was really very pleasant singing voice. And
Oh,
composed a few songs.
musician. Okay. Um, I think we're getting close to winding it up, but you reminded me with the swimming story. I guess it was Ron. That I think Darwin was kind of athletic. I remember we were in the at LA Sahabas in the swimming pool. Me and my son Sage were there, and Darwin was swimming too, and Sage got a cramp in his foot, and Darwin said to me, he said, "Listen, this is how you handle it." I don't know if you squeeze your upper lip like this real hard. I don't know if anybody knows this. I can't remember if it worked or what anyway, but and that's my little incident with 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 Darwin. But I mean, he was practically, he was down to earth. He was a real down to earth guy as well. That's a very small story. Um,
He was a cowboy.
Yes, he was, and
Yeah.
maybe in the movie or a movie, an extra in a movie or something out west.
I know.
I've read his book, but I've forgotten. Well, okay, folks. Tomorrow, part two, we're going to see a really charming video of earlier, 1973, of Darwin's a younger guy, and so is Jeannie. And they'll tell more. There are this kind of maybe even the same story. I don't remember. It's a really good video, I thought. And we're going to see the movie Mayor Baba's Call, which is beautiful, old black and white India footage of
Also in Los Angeles, we had them as a family, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, Sahabas. And it was amazing. They all got to talk, they all got to share. Yeah, it was very beautiful.
Did Lowell come, the son? I've never seen.
Never Lowell.
It was the girl, right.
Yeah.
I remember this one funny. I happened to be next to Jeannie, and she and she was kvetching. She was saying, "Oh," she said, "Darwin." She said, we could have somehow they were planning to go after Sahabas. They were going to go, and they kind of had a choice of two directions or something. And she wanted to go visit Lowell's family, and he had some other plan to do with Baba, something to do, a meeting or a group or something like that. And she was like saying, "Oh, he's, he doesn't, he chooses to do the Baba thing over, he didn't, I don't know, not were her words exactly, but I thought, wow, that was so typical of anyone who's been in a family where maybe one person is more inclined to go do the Baba thing, well, or maybe one Baba in my family for a long time. I was the only Baba lover. So,
He, he was asked, Darwin was asked, how have you been married all this world, all these years? And he says, I yield, yield. I thought that was a great, I
true,
yield.
true. Well, Baba says marriage is is a good spiritual. It's what's the word? Training,
Yeah.
training. You just need a little bump after a good long marriage.
It's a taste of surrender.
Yes, right, all the time. Uh, well, okay, folks, this is to come back tomorrow. See the other videos. It's been great.
What time tomorrow?
11, same time, 11. Yeah,
11.
time.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Good day.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki
Bye.
Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Oh, and I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
Darwin remembered a life as Emerson.
Did he remember it?
Well,
He said that?
he said he had been Emerson.
I know I've heard it, but I've never heard that
And
he
so
remembered
when
it.
I said, and it was Ralph Waldo.
Although Emerson, yeah.
So I thought, I know where Waldo is. I don't know now, but I think that little children's thing, where's Waldo?
Right, right. If
But
you look at the pictures of what they have a similar look about them, that's for sure. Ralph Waldo Emerson and Darwin.
yeah, yeah. And I love that Emerson quote. It says, finish the day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day which you shall begin serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered with your old nonsense. I
Oh,
love that.
you are amazing, your quotes that you just bring to mind, Rosalie. That's wonderful.
I consider it so Darwin. It's so to the point. Just focus on God. Just rush.
Okay, then off to the day
Yeah,
today. Day Baba. See everybody tomorrow. I
bye.
think. Jai Baba.